force yourself to outshout the competition just to get your brand noticed.
You don't have to anymore. Welcome to Copy That Speaks.
Well, I guess we can kill that. What do you think, Lee? Good evening and welcome to our, as you can tell now, our inaugural attempt at Copy That Speaks. I'm your host, Brian Brawdy, with our very special, it's not even fair to call him a co-host. He's the man of the hour. And of course, we're talking about Lee Rowley. There you go, Lee, from Sales Copy Academy. Lee, how are you? Well, let me see. It would be good if that would probably be a little helpful like that. How are you, Lee?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Brian?
Well, we've been talking a lot about this, and as I say many a times over on All Natural Being, into every life, a little rain must fall, but you do what you can. And so thank you for putting up with some of the glitches, some of the corrupted files, some of the other things we got going on. But I'm so excited about having a chance to do this with you because the concept, we've been talking about it for a while now, but the concept is just templatized, run-of-the-mill, dare I say, crappy copy. And, we were having breakfast the other morning, and I joked about, I noticed you have a little prop there, thank you. Always the consummate performer, thank you for bringing. It's like the plastic fruit. You see all the, and I promised you I wouldn't mention any names, right? You see all the plastic fruit and everything else. But that people, they're like, oh, well, buy this software and we'll write this templatized copy, or just plug in your name and we'll do this and do that. And I said, exactly. I say to people all the time, it's like eating plastic fruit. How much fun, how much fun is that? We've joked before about if you go to a rotisserie and you see real chickens, and then all of a sudden you're confronted by a rubber chicken. That's no good. You don't want that to happen. So that's what I wanted to talk about in Copy That Speaks, is that because you're such, and I don't mean perfectionist in a bad way, you're such a professional at it that I thought what we could do is craft a show where we'll take a caller. Now, admittedly tonight, we know who the caller's going to be because, this was our first episode. We're going to iron out some kinks and do some other things. But as we progress, what we wanted to do was have, you got plenty of coffee. As we progress, we want to be able to have callers just pick someone randomly, call in and go, oh, I'm thinking of starting a self car wash, or, whatever it's going to be. And then have you go, great, well, why don't we work on a tagline? What's the other word you call them? What are you telling me they are?
We were talking about value statements last night.
Value statements, yes. So they could create a pretty cool or you could create a pretty cool value statement. But really, for the people watching at home or watching along or following along, really just get a chance to see what it's like when you decide to create a tagline, when you decide to create copy, some of the process that you go into, exactly what that means and how to make it work. So that's what I thought we could do for a little bit, is talk a little bit about that and then go, okay, great. How would it be so that anyone that had an idea said, oh, I would really like it to be this, or I would really like it to be that I could go ahead and you could just bang out something for them and help them live, right here to show them, to kind of demystify, if you will, copywriting. What say you?
Absolutely. When you first brought this concept to me, I had to admit that I was scared shitless about the whole thing because, I'm a copywriter. Look, I'm used to hiding behind the keyboard. Sure. As you say, I've got a face for radio, sure, and a voice for print. So, it works out that I'm behind the scenes behind the keyboard. But, I just see there are so many people out there that really need help in that arena, and something that's kept them from ever really stepping out in their businesses, in some cases even starting the businesses at all, because they're just I don't know what to say.
Sure.
And especially when they see, and I don't want to pick on anybody, but there's a lot of these gurus, these experts out there that are selling these templates.
Sure.
PLR, private label rights, material, and it's basically just cut and paste and
sure,
tweak it a little bit, like the old we had Mad Libs growing up. I don't know if you remember those, Brian.
Sure.
But, where it was just you made a funny story by just popping a few names and nouns and verbs, sure, and adjectives and whatnot. A great way to learn grammar skills, but it's not a real great way to write copy.
And that's what I love about you, Lee. From the time we first started talking about it, it's always been where you've like, there's a little bit of a process. You got to submerge yourself. You got to put yourself not in the mindset of the person writing the copy, but who you think ultimately is going to read the copy. That was the, to me, that was the big deal, was that how much you really put some skin in the game. And I think what I find so offensive about your bowl of plastic fruit, my glass apple, oh, I have to make some cider out of this. I got a sledgehammer. We could probably make some apple cider out of this if I put it right. But you know what I'm saying? It's like inauthentic. And what are you doing for your clients? If you say to your clients, oh, I'm a copywriter, but then you turn around and you plug in whatever it is they're working on through some type of template or word generator, what are you really giving them? It's just not authentic any way around.
To me, you're giving them average at best. I mean, and it's not even really average. I mean, there's no substance to it. I mean, I'm not sure what this looks like on camera, but it looks like a banana, but there's no, There's no, it's not a banana. There's no nutritional value in this thing.
You break it, you bought it, brother.
I bought it, I break it. That's what damn it.
Well, that's one banana peel you don't have to worry about slipping on.
Yeah,
but that's the point I
absolutely.
was trying to make, Lee, was that people expect, I imagine, if they hire a copywriter, they expect it to be something that, oh, it's authentic. He or she put a lot of time into writing this. I want to work with them because they're so creative and the like. But if you're just plugging in a template and you're going, oh, let me check the thesaurus. There's got to be another synonym for that word. What could I be? Right? How I dare say lame, but how lame is that, right? What are you really giving your client if they could plug into some words in a computer, like, this Kincaid flesh reading ease or whatever, when everyone was writing a blog and they would subject themselves to this artificial lack of intelligence, whatever it was. But, oh, that was written at the 12th grade reading level. PhD. Oh, you should work at MIT, right? So that's what I loved about the concept, was being able to get it so that you could say, oh, okay, here's what we're going to do. And then actually watch you do it. Like you're surrounded by a couple different whiteboards. So I'm just thinking maybe this evening we'll take a call and then you'll go, okay, great. What are you working on? What's your heart? What's your passion? You and I can kind of play some ping pong. We'll battle it. We'll bat it back and forth and see what we can come up with. How does that sound?
That sounds great. I mean, just real quick, I titled this first episode, what do we really need another copy podcast anyway, or something like that. And that's something I want to touch on. I wanted to make absolutely sure that if I did this, that if I was actually going to put this face on camera,
right,
that there was a good reason for it, and that we could do something that has not been done before. Me, my copy is all about creating relationships and connections.
Sure.
And what better way to do that than to have people come on and actually help them create those connections themselves? Because the way I see it, I always say, I'm the second best copywriter you could ever hire, and I feel like you're the first. I feel like it's your passion, it's your energy, it's your drive, it's your success, so it should be your voice. And everybody has the ability to do that. And that's what I'm looking forward to doing.
And I think that's the way it should be, right? And I love the fact that you say you're the second best copywriter. And maybe a part of it is that you just help other people pull out some of the things. Let me ask you, you have thousands of clients. Do you ever have a client call and go, well, yeah, I'd like to hire you to write this. And you write it all out. And then they go, wow, it's like I said it myself. It's like I would have said it. Do you ever get it to where they realize that you took all of their stuff, like, oh, I want everyone to know my favorite vegetable is guacamole, right? I want everyone to know my dog's name is Spot or Muffin or whatever it is, right? So do you ever get those calls where people go, man, you just make it look easy?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Those are my favorites. When, I love hearing people tell you, I feel like you know me better than I know myself.
Sure.
Because it's not really that they don't know it about themselves, they just need it brought out. And that's what I do. I go into buyer personas and my clients' personas as business owners and just draw out those parts of their personalities and their experiences that intersect with what they're trying to give to the people they serve.
And that's a great word, serve. right? You're not trying to sell someone. You're not saying, oh well, I'm trying to pull something over on the consumer. I'm not trying to get, you know what I mean, something out of someone. It really is a function of service, isn't it? You really want to be to that point where you're putting the best possible face on the brand or on their service or whatever it is that they're offering, so that it's legitimate, it's honorable, and it's authentic.
All great things, and I love being able to do that for my clients, and all of those things, and part of it's a little selfish too, because if I can create amazing results for my clients and help them create amazing results for themselves, then I don't have to go out and look for new clients, because I'm giving them more than they expected. And people have said, look, I would have paid 2-3 times what I paid to get this. It really wouldn't matter. I mean, I've doubled my prices before and had my clients go, well, so what? And that's because I actually care about them, and I care about the end result, being able to make things attractive to their buyers. Because, I mean, look, if you're using templatized copy, something that looks like copy, something that looks like you put effort into it, you're giving them the plastic fruit, right? But if I can walk up to you and say, Brian, you know what? These are some great apples. Here, I wanted to share these apples with you. Brian, here you go, take a bite. And you bite into the thing, and the damn thing's styrofoam.
Right.
Okay?
I'm with you.
Well, that's, fooled me once, shame on me, whatever.
It looks great, though.
Up to you,
it looks great at the beginning. I wanted an apple gimlet. I see that lime, and I go, oh, well, I got a vodka, right? I know exactly what.
But I've screwed you. I've screwed you over. And when I walk up to you next week and go, hey, would you like to buy this lime? You're gonna go, you know what? Fuck you, Lee. You gave me an apple last week, and I bit into it, and it was styrofoam. You can take that lime and stick it up your ass.
Now, I should say, just for a moment, in terms of a disclaimer, we're not bad-mouthing people that like styrofoam gimlets. If you happen to be, right? I guess. I'm thinking maybe there's people out there that dig styrofoam margaritas. If you happen to be one of them, then I guess Lee could say, oh, well, then here you go. Here's some plastic fruit, right?
I've culturally misappropriated your plastic fruit.
There you go. Well, you know what? So we'll be getting all kinds of emails now from the Tropicana people that are all upset because we culturally appropriated.
I've been wanting to lay into them for a while now, so bring it on.
You and me both. All right, so why don't we do this? I know we're waiting on a call. So, Jamie, if you're listening, if you want to go ahead and give us a call, and then we'll be able to set you up and get you right in here and then get started on this evening's episode. And then I think, Lee, as we build this, we just get, I think what will happen is you're in the studio. We're very glad to have you here. You should know this. In the timer, the official countdown clocks are brought to you by you and the good folks at Sales Copy Academy. So we're fired up to have you here. And so what are some of the other things that you hope to do with Copy That Speaks as we get into bigger and better versions, right? When we get a couple of them under our legs, under our belt, if you will. What is it that you hope to be able to offer to people so that they go, oh, yeah, well, I got to call in for that?
Listen, this is about liberation for me. This is because, I've been in the copy game for a while now. I've been doing this for 10 years. And, for the first 6 of those years, it really kind of sucked. I was writing this templatized copy because that's what I was taught to do, and I was just thought, like, that's what you do. You just crank them out as fast as possible. You use as little energy as possible into creating this, and you just slap it out and give it to the client so you can go on to the next one. But, I'll be honest with you. I mean, the whole thing, it just became, it felt terrible to begin with, but I did it and, thinking, okay, this is what you're supposed to do, and thinking it would get better, and it got worse. And, and it really got to the point where, and I know I'm getting very candid here, but getting to the point where I would mix a Jim Beam and Coke, in the morning before I'd start to work, and, and 3 or 4 of them before I could really get into the groove of it and be able to bang out this bullshit day after day. And I just got to the point where I just really absolutely couldn't take it anymore. I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to keep doing marketing copy, I'm not going to be using these fake countdown timers and this false scarcity, and there's only 37 copies of this ebook left, or you have to buy now or your life will be over. This is the kind of stuff that I'm like, there has to be another way. because I'm tired of it. Consumers are tired of it. And you know what? My clients were constantly telling me, can you make this a little bit less hypey? Inside, I was knowing, yeah, I've got to figure out how to do that. But then I'm giving them the same answer that I was taught, which is, hey, look, if you want to sell your product, this is what you got to do. And I had found, it took me 6 years to find out that it's not what you have to do.
And what are some of the other lessons that you've learned, right, Lee, so that when it comes to doing what you do for a living and people put a lot of their faith into you, what are some of the things that you've learned? What are some of the other things that you've learned about it, right? You're not a big drinker, so you can't keep drinking, would you say, double Jim Beams? Or,
right.
And the likes.
No.
What are some of the other things you've learned?
I've learned that when you create connections and relationships through your copy, that selling's really not all that hard. You don't need the big flashy hype when you're creating authentic connections. I mean, it may take a little bit longer, but I'm not about one-off customers. Just like I say, if I go up and if I try to hand you styrofoam fruit 3 times in a row, you're going to stop trusting me.
Right.
And when you make big hypey promises that you can't live up to, and you go and try to sell something else to your customers, then look, that trust is gone. They may not have wanted to admit that they were wrong strongly enough to ask for a refund, but they're not going to come back and buy from you again. And again, I don't want to have to constantly look for clients. And the people that I serve don't want to constantly have to look for clients and customers either. So what I'm all about is creating long-term relationships. And I found that is better and easier for the people that I serve, who are mostly coaches and consultants, authors, speakers, writers. I'm not allowed to use the B word anymore because that's been trademarked. But yeah, we can't use that word anymore. But
really?
Yeah. Really.
Well, now you got my mind running wild because I'm thinking, okay, well, B word.
Well, we need a. Well, we stick everything on the end of or in front of preneur these days.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
So
get out of here! Someone trademarked that word.
Absolutely.
What a loser! And I hope they call. Well, unless they're a client of yours, then I didn't mean loser. I meant just stunningly brilliant. They trademarked. Good Lord! Talk about plastic fruit, right?
Right.
All right. So if you could, and this was a story that I think often about, that when you talked to me about the apple cider vinegar and what it took when you said that one time. All right, what do I know about apple cider vinegar? And you, in my estimation, you went above and beyond just to learn everything you could learn about apple cider vinegar. I think it's such a great story. Can you kind of share that with me again?
Well, sure. That was a very easy one. When I'm writing for my clients, I always want to get in their customer's head.
Sure.
And this particular client was selling an apple cider vinegar capsule supplement. I guess you get a bottle of 90 capsules, and I guess the apple cider vinegar is supposed to do magical things to your body or whatever.
Okay.
But the thing is that when I look on Amazon, there are listing after listing after listing after listing after listing of apple cider vinegar capsules, and virtually nothing to distinguish one from another. I mean, how are you going to stand out from that? They're all really touching on the same things, the health benefits, the easy to swallow capsules, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, okay, well, the only thing you have to compete on is price. And so my client, of course, wanted to sell for $10 more than everybody else.
Okay.
So I said, okay, what do we want to hit on in the customer's experience that hasn't been hit on?
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, well, the only other way that you'll be able to get the benefits of apple cider would be to drink it, either drink it straight or mix it with water or whatever. And I said, okay, well, just how bad is it? So I caught up on the kitchen counter and reached in the back of the top shelf, way back in this dusty corner, where I found a bottle of apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
And it got down off the counter, unscrewed it, and took a big swig of it. And it tasted like crying, okay? It tasted like somebody running over your favorite puppy while driving a Camaro, blasting Nickelback from his custom speakers. And then he stops, backs up, runs over the puppy again, flips you off, and takes off into the sunset. That's bad.
That's
okay?
bad, yeah.
So
that
that's
is
the
bad.
angle that we use for this person's sales page to differentiate it. I mean, the product's the same.
Right.
but we create an angle that really taps into something of the customer's experience that most people never think about.
So in other
Certainly
words,
not
you
marketers.
ended up becoming a fan of the plastic fruit. You were like, oh yeah, no,
Plastic has its place.
Plastic-
We'll talk about that more next week.
Yes, we will. Plastic does have its place. I'll give you that. All right, so let's do this. I know we were waiting on a caller, but something seems to have gone amiss. Do you want to? Yeah, I know. Why don't we? Well, I'll do a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about how you and I first met, and then. We'll see. We'll give Jamie a little bit more time to call in here, and we'll go from there. I really loved the concept of cage-free marketing, and when I saw that early on, I thought, okay, great. I got to meet this guy, right? I just got to be able to see what it is that he's thinking. You know what I mean? What it is that he's thinking when he comes up with something like cage-free marketing. I was blown away by that concept because everyone colors by the numbers. Everyone connects the dots. Everyone does all these other things. But I was really interested when you said, oh no, and created this title of cage-free marketing, right? I love that concept. Tell me a little bit about how you came up with that name.
Well, this really all came out of that concept of not using templates, and not using canned copy, not using the same old tricks and moves that everybody else is using. And when I went through this process and the avatar immersion process that I talk about and that is in the book that's coming out later this month is all about diving into your customers' mindset and getting away from all of those. If you say these certain things, that's going to trip their triggers to buy no matter who they are or what they are. I mean, it's the things that came out of like the direct mail letters in the 70s and 80s. Not that they weren't brilliant, don't get me wrong, but
sure.
Everyone still reveres those today, and a lot of copywriters are still insistent that that's how we should do things today. And the world's changed. I mean,
right.
Back then you didn't have a supercomputer containing, the entire body of knowledge of the entire world at your fingertips.
Sure.
And you weren't getting bombarded with hundreds and sometimes thousands of marketing messages a day.
Right.
So things have changed, and I believe the copy has to evolve from that. It has to become more organic. It has to become more connection-based. And that's how I say, I see it as breaking out of a cage, of being able to run free and actually be able to connect with your customers instead of just ascribing to a rigid, pushy, borderline sleazy sales approach that a lot of these gurus are telling you have to do.
And what do you think happens to folks? I mean, obviously your copy's been very successful. And one of the things that I also enjoyed learning about you was just looking at your testimonials. I mean, you've got some really big names that swear by what it is that you write and the process that you go through in order to be able to pull this off. I mean, it's you should be very proud. I would imagine you are, because you've got some great, just huge names out there that are like, nah, Lee's the guy. And even when it comes to us kicking around different concepts, different things that we think about, I call it therapy. You know what I mean? I love our conversations because you cause me to think. Most every time you cause me to think in a different way. So, is that what copywriting is? Causing people to think in a different way? Do we want it too snazzy, too glitzy, too overpowering? And is some of the best copy just simple, just right from the heart, straight and direct? Have you found that to be the case?
I have found that to be the case, absolutely. I mean, it's not about trying to be fancy or clever. I feel that a lot of newer copywriters, and even some of the more established ones, are more interested in impressing each other than they are in generating results for the clients. But yeah, sometimes the simplest things work. I mean, what was the page I was telling you about the other day, the private investigator page?
Sure.
I mean, it was what's your boyfriend really doing when he's out on this business trip? Is she really heading out for the girls' night?
Right.
Call us, we'll find out. I mean, that's just pretty much the big headline was just call us, we'll find out. And which is perfectly appropriate for a private investigation firm.
Sure.
for a entrepreneur who's trying to teach people to align their chakras or prioritize their paradigm or what the hell ever. I mean, maybe not so much, but it's appropriate and it's authentic and it gets the point across without being over the top, without being showy.
Right, without like trademarking a name, right? Right, because I'm thinking, oh wow, this is something. I'm really smart. I'll just go ahead. Like I heard one time, the guy from the L.A. Lakers, the coach, three-peat. He trademarked Pat. Somebody. He was the big basketball coach, but he trademarked three-peat. So every time a basketball team would win three competitions, 3 Super Bowl, whatever it is.
Right.
You had me cracking up the other night when you said "Go Sports." What's the thing? What is it in basketball? The NBA Finals, whatever that's called. Not the Stanley Cup, but it's like a big. I think it's a big gold ball or something, right? But if you want him, Pat Riley trademarked the term three-peat.
Wow.
So every
Okay,
time
well.
if you're on the network and you said three-peat, I guess you were supposed to send him a check or validate his parking or whatever it was. But so that's how all that worked. But I look at these people and I go, really, that's your sense of creativity was to trademark that name. But one of the things I dig about you is the process that you use isn't simple, right? It's time consuming. You envelop yourself in it. But what comes out of it is simply authentic, simply straight to the heart. And that's why I think it works. That's why I think people dig the writing that you do. It's straight from the heart.
Well, honestly, I can't do it any other way. And as I found that if I do try to do it any other way, I can't live with myself. So I've got to think there are other people that are out there who are like that. As I would say, there may be people who have never started a business just because they can't grasp the idea of well, they feel like it's selling themselves, but really it's not. It's providing value. It's leading people to take advantage of value that they couldn't get elsewhere. I mean, no matter what niche you're in, it's probably crowded, but at the same time, you have your unique voice and you have your way of being able to help people in a way that nobody else can.
That no one else can.
Right.
Good evening. Thank you for calling Copy That Speaks. Who's this?
London calling.
London. There you go.
Hi, fellas. It's Jamie.
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
I'm doing splendid. How about yourself?
You really are calling from London, aren't you?
Well, it could be.
It could very
That could
well be.
happen.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you, but knowing the world jet setter that you are, I'm sure you really could be calling in from a pretty cool place. So,
Yes, and I will tell you that it wouldn't be London right now. It would be south of the Pacific.
oh, South Pacific. Yeah.
Or
Well,
south.
yeah. Somewhere warm. I'll give you that, especially with the temperatures here in Columbus. So, Jamie, I've been sitting here talking with Lee Rowley, as you know, from Sales Copy Academy, and he said, "Oh, why don't we take some calls?" And we had spoken about this earlier, and just say, "Hey, we want to come up with a tagline. We want to come up with a riff. We want to come up with I call them thesis statements, but I'm always messing that up. Lee, what is that called again?"
The value statement.
Value statement. Maybe we'll come up with a value statement or something else. So, Jamie, why don't you give us a little idea of what you're into now, and then, you know what I mean? Let's see what Lee and I can come up with.
Hold on, before we do that, I'm going to take notes. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a note board. Nothing inauthentic about that.
I won't remember unless this is recorded.
If I
There
could
we-
reach my markers, we'll be in good shape.
There you go.
There we go.
Oh, you know what would have been so cool if you had like a 2 foot size marker, to go with your noteboard there.
I
That
may,
would
have
have
to,
been great.
I may have to invest in one. Do those
that-
exist?
We'll find out when we order the rubber duck or the rubber chicken. All right,
No,
Jamie.
you too. I wouldn't be surprised.
So give us an idea of what you're into, please.
Sure. Well, I come from studying business and marketing at Ohio State, and my first job was at the Radisson Hotel near the university, and my sales kept on going into hospitality. So I worked in Colorado as an event planner. I worked in, Hilton Head and Beaufort. So I married the guy. We got into the full-time music business and did that for 25 years. And while doing that, I really loved planning and creating events. And I loved sales and marketing. So when I took a new step in life and decided to do what my passion is, and that is traveling and planning events, planning weddings, I did a cold call to a travel agency in Asheville, and I told them my spiel, and they said, we were just talking about someone like you. So they said, can you come in tomorrow? So I came in the next day, and they hired me on the spot. So now I'm taking, I've gone through the training, so I'm an official travel agent with a license.
Okay.
And I don't want to be boring. It's so cliche, to say, hey, I want to take you guys off the beaten path or whatever.
Right.
I really want to come up with something that reflects me, that can not reflect me. That sounds so, forget that one. I don't mean that.
Okay.
That basically can take my strengths, which is kind of, taking people beyond their expectations
Okay.
in ways they wouldn't expect. And maybe my definition of off the beaten track is not like another person. Maybe they think going to get a cafe or a coffee at an off the beaten track street is off the beaten path. Mine is more taking a Vesta on the Amalfi Coast where there are no guardrails.
Okay.
So I need to come up with something in between that excites people, and they can feel my enthusiasm for living life, like making this an adventure, not just a trip.
And of course, if they wanted to practice without a guardrail, you could just have them go to Pacific Coast Highway, come south from Malibu into Venice, and that'll give them some practice of looking over the edge and going, "Ooh, that's going to be a big
I don't
drop."
want to end up there.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to end up over the hill. All right, so the first thing that pops to mind, Lee, is this concept of the Latin word adventure, and an expedition is something that you plan. But adventure, the Latin for aventura, something about to happen, it almost sounds as if Jamie's like half expedition, half adventure, right? Like she wants you to know, she wants you to be able to plan where the expedition, what country, what region of the world you're going to. But in listening to her describe it, she really wants you to have that sense of something about to happen. Put you in a position, as she says, off the beaten path of the like, that you never can tell what's going to pop up. Jamie, is that a fair assessment of what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, and I love that because it doesn't even have to be something they hear. I can describe what I'm going to, send them on and get their okay and approval.
Sure. But
I won't tell them all the fun details that are going to happen. So they'll get there and they'll, it'll be under-delivering. No, wait a minute. What is it? Over-promising, under-delivering.
Yeah, I would say over-delivering and under-promising would probably be the
I'm
word.
sorry.
That's okay. No.
You guys,
No.
I took my happy pill to go to sleep. I got to talk fast.
We're in good company here. Okay, so Jamie, so what are you primarily looking for? Are you looking for like a tagline, or do we want to just kind of come up with some different things, or what would help you the most short term in being able to differentiate when you're putting yourself out there? I mean,
I think what you and I talked about. One thing for certain is that when I was able to travel the world the last 6 years, I went rogue. I'll be honest. I went totally rogue. I tried to, Google where I was going to stay, and of course the Wi-Fi is shoddy, across the border. And I was on adventures that now are funny. Back then were not funny. They were scary. So I want something to let people know that travel agents are not a dinosaur. We're back. For all those people, for example, when I did weddings, I used to plan every aspect of their wedding, and they thought I was charging too much. They could do it on their own because of Pinterest, because of Martha Stewart. And then what they found is, my God, this is not worth it. Let's hire someone who has 25 years experience doing this and we won't have to work so hard to get our wedding done. Let's really, enjoy the wedding and live the wedding and enjoy family and friends. And I think the same thing goes to travel. I think people don't realize that travel agents aren't out to gouge people. As a matter of fact, every single time I can get you a cheaper price than you can get yourself. Because we have perks, we get discounts because of who we are. Our suppliers love us. And if you're Joe Blow going through Google Flights or, whatever, you're not going to get what you're expecting to, you're going to get what you pay for. And the thing is that every time someone gets a quote from me, I come under that number. The bottom line is, don't do as I did, which is book a train to Barcelona and end up in Perpignan, France. And that really, that's kind of my tagline. So I want to make it to where, especially the millennials, the people, we've got a real good base of people that have been with us for years. But I'm kind of going after those people who, they try to do it on their own. And so by having something like that, like, don't do as I did, do as I say, right? Something like that tagline. What do you think about that, guys?
Okay, so I'm pulling some ideas out of this. Is that maybe having a travel agent on their side can help them lose their travel stress, or phrased positively, find your travel zen.
Yes.
Is really cool. So, and your marketing materials after that would have to explain that, but that's actually a pretty potent headline because it doesn't divulge enough information to explain everything, but it gives enough clues for people to want to read on, and that's what headlines and taglines are really about. It is not so much selling, but getting people to find out more.
Hey, that's brilliant.
So do you want me to shortlist Find Your Travels In? Do you like that?
Yeah, Find Your Travels In.
Okay.
And also it's about, they save money. They save time and money. That money could be going towards an upgrade at a hotel instead of all their time planning and not knowing what the heck they're doing.
Okay. So we could get into something, like something along the lines of, you may think you find the best price doing travel on your own, but you don't. Let me think on that one. I need to mess with that a little bit while you're talking. So, okay. The other thing that come in, and this is a little more out there, but what really came to mind when you were talking about some of the experiences and what's awesome and off the beaten path to one person might be not be to another. So I kept coming back to come discover your wow.
I like that.
Okay. Now the problem, I'm a little iffy on that one because it really doesn't speak to travel at all. It's if that's something I might want to work, but I like the word discover. I also like escape. I'm trying to figure out how to use it in that because I think that that's kind of what you're going after, is being able to escape the ordinary, not only of the ordinary everyday life, but the ordinary everyday travel experience, the mass market cruises. These things are just, basically floating skyscrapers. You know what? I liked cruises to begin with. But after I've been on a few of them, it's wall to wall people, and it's like one big petri dish. So it's
you can't prod me hard enough to get in one of those.
Yeah. Blah. Well, yeah, I'm that makes sense. So you're looking for people who are wanting a little more customized experience rather than just get off the boat in Roatan and then walk around for a half an hour while guys with submachine guns follow you around and watch your every move.
Yeah, that's always fun though. That will get your adrenaline going.
Yeah. But you know what? Everybody's got a picture of Big Ben. Everybody's got a picture of the Eiffel Tower. Everybody's got a picture of the Louvre. What's your wow?
What do you think about something like this? I'm thinking about a double entendre here with, part of my name, with it being Jamie Wild, it should be Wild Ride because I left the G out many times when I was typing something in the
Okay.
computer. And so it's been going on for 15 years, and so a lot of my friends call me Jamie Wild Ride. So I've done a play on that, and one thing, I can't even think of it exactly, but something like take a walk on the wild side with me planting your tree, something like, they'll think it's wild, like whatever, but it might be a conversation opener, and just like with my business, I changed it to Wild Entertainment. And I said on the back of the card, there's a story, ask me. It's not, I don't know. There's something with my name that I love, that because going into the wild or walk on the wild side could also mean going to Costa Rica and taking a trail, going to an African safari, which are things that I, specialize in. So just throwing that out there.
The best trips are wild rides. Let me be your lifeline.
Yeah, we're on the right track. Let's keep going.
Okay. So, do you like that concept?
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, the best trips are wild rides. Let me be. Because like what you want to go back to, you can find the best prices. You can. If something goes wrong on their trip, who are they going to call? They're going to call you, right?
Linda? You mean me, Linda?
What's that? Oh, I
said you mean me, Linda, right? Me, not Jamie. Me, Linda, when there's problems.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, lose my
okay.
number.
Yeah, I'm a little
Gotcha.
slow on the uptake. Don't mind me.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's right. But I mean, if that's you don't have that security really if you're, if you book on Travelocity or Expedia or any of these sites. I mean, I've tried to deal with their customer service department when the problems, come up, and it's
No,
basically.
we are responsible, and that's true. I was joking with you, but the ultimate comfort in booking through a travel agency is we've got you covered. Period. We not only book your insurance for the trip, we book your flights, we book your hotels, we get your transfers. We do everything that you ask us to do. We have a list of, what will make you happy. Because Lee, a lot of times, these are once-in-a-lifetime trips for people, and then maybe they go with their families. I'm not going to screw this up for people. I mean, things happen because they're in other hands. Of course, with vendors, the hotel front desk, and all that. But, there is security with having somewhere that you can call literally 24/7, and get help.
Okay.
And people, and live people, real people that will get a hold of you, not just some call center. If you book it with Jamie, you get Jamie.
That's really cool. Okay, so the personalized service, definitely.
Personalized service, yes.
Okay. So, tell me a little bit about your best trip ever. I mean, where was it and what happened that made it so special?
Golly, I think going to with my friend. Actually, is Brian there with you, or can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sure.
Hey, Brian, I was in the middle of nowhere, and like I said, I went rogue. I just started going places, didn't know anything about Peru, but I was stationed in Paris. I was hubbed in Paris.
Okay.
So I could go anywhere on a train for 2 hours, and cheap, getting around.
Sure.
But one of the places I went, because my goal was to ride in as many cities in Europe that had the Vespa tour.
Okay.
And the best one was going to Bruges, Belgium. And it's such a small, quaint town. They speak Flemish. They only speak French if you make them. And so I ran into, it was like 6 in the morning. I was staying in Brussels. I took the train out. And I had heard, and I contacted this guy like that year before, saying, hey, I'm coming and whatever, and I want to take your trip. Never heard anything back. couldn't get a hold of him, so I called the town. I said, no, you know what? I'll just go to the town. I got to the town, started trying to catch the person that could answer me or understand me. And I met a few fellows, and this was like 7:38 in the morning. They said, orange Vespa. I said, wee, or yeah, wee. And so by happenstance, again, just by, opening locked doors, talking to people, not being afraid to. And I walked 3 blocks, turned left like they told me to, and there he was. His shop was there. So we were talking. He had to wait an hour till he could start the tour. And we were small talking, and he worked at the same ski resort in West Virginia called Snowshoe.
Oh, yeah.
As the master chef in the top restaurant for years and years and years. And the really bizarre thing is that my dad had died. That day was his first anniversary of his death. It was August 15th, and I was in Bruges talking to a guy, and I mean, we hit it off, talked West Virginia, blah, blah, blah. Well, when you go on a tour in Bruges, if you've ever been, there's cobblestone streets. They're so, 200 years behind time, and it's so wonderful, and they have these amazing structures. You go through the downtown, you hear, you hear music, you see people doing these little, like, busker tunes. But then you go, once you get out of Bruges proper in this, Gothic city, then you cross over a little road, and literally, like, if you picture the fat cows in Holland that give you the good cheese and the butter and the milk, the whole scene changed. It was like a movie scene. It went from a lot of people, pedestrians, a lot of noise and, stuff, and then all of a sudden it's like, switch a flip. And got in, and it was the most beautiful countryside, the smell, all the green, the rolling hills, the people that live there are on bikes. Here we are on Vespas. I'm probably looking at me going, hey, fat ass, why don't you try one of these? See how that works for you.
So, Jamie, are you saying then it was the impromptu nature of it, that it's a small world, the interconnectedness of all things, the synchronicity of the fact that it was the anniversaries of your dad's passing? Right? Because I'm watching Lee now on the whiteboard trying to write it out. It's
Okay.
How do you encapsulate the last, say, 5 minutes?
I would say that yes, it was a miracle that I found him, and a miracle that anyone could speak enough English to find out where he was. And then so it was a miracle that I found him, a miracle that he worked at Snowshoe in my home state, and a miracle that it was my dad's, anniversary death anniversary, and then the unexpected vision of what I was going to see. I thought it was just a little run around the cobbled street.
Sure.
But then he took me to the Holland Beach. He took me to so many places. He spent about 2.5 hours riding with me. And that one has so many memories because it had the unexpected, the wow, the adventure, the beauty.
And so I guess, Lee, again, it seems like, off the beaten path, the event, something about to happen, the impromptu nature of it.
How about this as a value statement? Maybe getting closer here. I help people travel like there's no tomorrow.
Oh, did you come up with that just now?
Yeah, there's the board.
Oh my gosh, Lee, I love that.
Awesome. It's yours.
Even if you said, Lee, in terms, because I'm thinking about it on the card, if it's like giving it in a definitive where you say travel like there's no tomorrow.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's a good tagline.
That's a new tagline. Travel like there's no tomorrow. Would be a way of putting it. But I like that. But I have to tell you, I like the Zen thing you had going earlier. But travel like there's no tomorrow. is pretty. That resonates with me. Jamie, what say you?
It does resonate. Leaves it, blank slate. Their mind can go anywhere with that. And of course, there's going to be jokes about, well, if there's no tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and upgrade everything I have on this trip. We can make jokes about silly things. But that gets into another thing. And I kind of said this back earlier. Some people, they just go on a trip. They take a trip. They're not on a journey, like you said. They're not on a quest to find their, maybe this is the last trip. Maybe they want to try something they've never done. What's on their bucket list? Like, that's the cliche kind of thing that I don't like. I don't like using bucket lists, but the idea is the same. And I don't want to confuse things because I think that last one you did was great.
Okay.
And I really liked how you tied that in to those, to those thoughts, putting the thoughts that people said.
It's got a lot of layers to it, and that's what I really like about it. It's simple, but it's got a lot of layers to it. So I was recently talking to a business contact of mine. His father passed away recently, and I've just recently gotten to know this guy. So I can only get a very, very small sense of the impact that must have had on him. But I know just from talking to him that's really lit something under him to stop treating tomorrows like they're infinite, to stop treating them like they're expendable. And I think that maybe that's what part of what you're trying to create here is to be able to create those travel experiences. Like, look, stop. There's this tendency to say, well, I'll do it when I get older. I'll do it when I have more time. I'll do it when the kids are out of the house. I'll do it when the mortgage is paid off. I'll do it when I retire. But you know what?
Right.
You may not have the health to do that. You may not even be alive to do that. So,
and not only that,
yeah.
but some people have things like his mother dying. And, things happen that give you your own sense of mobility. And go, I can't wait for 10 more years. I can't wait.
Right.
What did I say that word right? Mobility. Can you edit some of these words out? Because I'm feeling my happy focus. But anyway.
No. You're good. This is great.
I know what you're talking about. No worries. No worries.
Okay. But the one thing that was really crucial, and then the death of my father is what started my travels because we grew up. I was 8 years old when the Marshall plane crash happened, and my dad was really good friends with Red Dawson, and when that happened, that broke our family straight in two. And so, when we were growing up, my dad had to get on the plane with me, my mom, my brother, and it was creepy. It's like they knew something was going to happen. We were going to die, and I peed my pants every time I got on the plane when I was a kid.
Sure.
Totally understandable.
Yeah. So the thought of that, let's think about this for a second. What you just said, it was a setup, exactly, I'm sorry, but that idea that, live today or like there's no tomorrow kind of thing, and that's true. Don't put off what you need to do now while you can. Because that is, then you have no fears and it's no guilt. It's just all about living it to the fullest.
Sure.
And not being afraid.
All right, so Lee, let's do this. How about you and Jamie will agree to catch up? We're going to get, we're almost at the top of the hour, Jamie, which means we have to run. But one of the things that I would think, Lee, is as I heard you two interact, it's like, one of the things that always, just like a pet peeve of mine, when you go on vacation, everyone now with their phones are trying to take pictures. And instead of actually enjoying the moment where you are, you're trying to capture a memory so that you can remember standing there trying to get the f-stop and the shutter speed right to capture the memory. So it's almost like, taking memories only your heart can capture.
Yeah,
something
actually,
like that.
One of my contenders you didn't get to see was Go Where There Are No Selfie Sticks.
Exactly.
It didn't quite get it right.
Well,
so.
but I will tell you that resonated with me. When you said that, it's like, the memories only your heart can capture or snap or shutter. Or, something along those lines is what your writing did to me. Jamie, thank you so very much for calling in. We super appreciate it. You and Lee will connect and then kind of iron out what you think your favorite one will be. And it's been a pleasure hanging out with you, as I'm sure Lee will say as he says goodbye.
Absolutely.
Thank you for calling in and hanging with us, Jamie. It was great to get a chance to catch up and learn about your passion. As I've said before, I love the concept of putting the bottom of your heart at the top of my mind. So thank you very much for hanging out with us. Lee, I'll let you say goodnight, and then we'll get out of here.
Groovy. So, Jamie, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you giving me the chance to work it out for you. I hope that something that really resonates with you and that you can really do something with it. I'd love to see you follow that passion and love to see you attract more clients.
Oh, that's great. Well, I can't wait to talk more either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. You can call me whenever you feel like talking.
Okay, sounds great,
good.
Jamie. Thanks.
All right, Jamie, thanks so much.
Have a good night, you too.
Bye now.
Bastard.
Bye now.
Bye, Jamie.
All right, my friend. Well, that was. I have to tell you, I loved watching you. The writing, the erasing. I mean, who could beat breaking a plastic banana in half? I didn't know you had that upper body strength. It was just great. But to watch your mind work and to watch you zip around and everything else, that was great. It was something else. So time flies. Last thoughts in our closing minute here, Mr. Rowley.
Well, obviously, this is a work in progress. This has been a passion project for a long time for both of us, Brian.
Sure.
So, everybody's feedback. I'd love to hear what you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see differently. If you want a different person sitting in this seat, that's not going to happen. Tough luck. You go get your own damn show.
But they might get a rubber chicken.
They may get a rubber chicken. I don't know. Or well, we'll talk about.
Plastic always has its purpose.
Plastic always has its purpose. Tune in next week and find out. Same bat time, same bat channel. I don't know.
Sounds good. I remember the little bow tie logo that I shot up into the air. Throw that light up there. All right, everybody. Thank you so very much for joining us. Thank you for hanging out here at IPMNation.com/TR now for Copy That Speaks. We're going to go ahead and get out of here.